Mirrors showing a dangerously close Williams are Michael's major concern, and Montoya will only add to those worries. It's time to put the pitch crews to the ultimate test as the leaders are in for their first stops. There's very little in it, but Ferrari get their revenge for Canada and Michael stays ahead. Ralph's pursuit of his brother could soon end as he puts a wheel over the pit exit line. That's against the rules, and to make matters worse, he's now fourth behind Coulthard, which will soon become third as temporary leader Montoya makes his stop. Ralph retrieves second from Coulthard's off-the-pace McLaren. Ralph races on under a cloud, while Coulthard has another Williams to deal with. Over the last two races, Montoya's driving has been erratic, to say the least, and the Scot will be all too aware of that now. The Colombian uses his power advantage to close up on Coulthard, but misses his braking point and loses all the momentum he had just built up. Ralf Schumacher's punishment for crossing the pit lane exit line is a 10-second stop-go penalty. He drops to fourth behind Coulthard, Montoya and Michael Schumacher. The Colombian has profited from his teammate's mistake and Coulthard's pit stop, but will do well to threaten the world champion. For the second consecutive race, Trulli slows to a crawl, this time with a transmission problem. Frenson's faulty traction control ends another miserable weekend for the Irish team. Barrichello's rather dreary race is livened up by a spot of rallycross. There's no need for divine intervention though. The Brazilian is far enough ahead of Häkkinen to stay in fifth. Barring miracles, Prost's run of point-scoring finishes will soon come to an end. Jean Alesi makes sure of that by spinning out of 11th place. Another near faultless performance earns Michael Schumacher his fifth win of the season. Montoya earns second place after a controlled drive, ahead of Coulthard and Ralf Schumacher. The world champion goes 24 points clear in the Drivers' Championship.
We had a nice race again together, Ralf and myself, until the stop and go. So it was quite an entertaining weekend and tough weekend as well, because then in the end Jean Pablo was coming and pushing, and so in this respect we're very delighted to have finished where we are.
I don't know what happened, but he used the T car. Now he's in a race car. Maybe he like to test something, but the car stopped. But we don't know why.
My traction control just stopped working and came out of the blue. It just spun around, and after I stopped the race I saw that I had some problems on the rear tires. But anyway, I couldn't go any further than that.
The rules are the rules, and I didn't actually see it, but apparently he crossed the right white line on the pit exit. I don't know why, but anyway, he got the penalty, and that rather destroyed his race, obviously. Great for Juan Pablo to get a result. He's had a bit of a difficult time in the last few races, as people have seen, and come under a bit of pressure. And he drove really well today, and I hope his championship can build from here.
Round 10 sees the Formula One fraternity at Manicourt for the French Grand Prix. A spectacular display from the country's Air Force takes the fans' minds off matters on track, while Irish midfielder Roy Keane tries to do the same for Eddie Jordan. Qualifying saw Ralf Schumacher take his first Formula One pole position, ahead of his brother. Coulthard and Hakkinen fill out the second row. Mika Hakkinen gets an attack of McLaren's start line maladies as for the 4th time this season, and McLaren fails to leave the grid. Gearbox failure ends the Finns' race before it even started. A 50% retirement rate scuppers his World Championship campaign. With the flying Finn grounded, the now 21 car field sets off. Ralph leaves his brother behind, and Michael now has to fight off Coulthard and Montoya. Ferrari's number 1 wins that battle. Coulthard is 3rd ahead of Montoya, Trulli and Barrichello. Villeneuve can't escape BAR's reliability problems. That first podium in Spain must seem a long time ago for Craig Pollard. Sauber have trouble locating Raikkonen, while their finished charge zeroes in on 7th placed Frentzen. Can the Rookie of the Year candidate earn his 4th point-scoring drive of the season? Irvine lines up 9th placed Olivier Panis. The Frenchman opens the door at the final turn, and the Ulsterman goes through. Jaguar manager Niki Lauda knows it's way too early to celebrate yet, though. Ralf Schumacher leads from Michael, but that will soon change as Ralf comes in for his first of 2 stops. How will Ferrari react? Ross Brawn is the man with the plan. Michael comes in for his first stop, the lap after his brother. They look to continue their mid-season dominance. Michael has got ahead of Ralph, and once all the front runners begin their second stints, he will assume the lead. Coulthard's chances of victory receive a hammer blow in the form of a 10-second stop-go penalty for speeding in the pit lane. He drops to 5th. Irvine continues his charge and dives down the inside of Frentzen. The German uses desperation tactics to keep the Ulsterman behind. Accidentally or not, that manoeuvre will only serve to infuriate the already fired-up Jaguar team. Perhaps fearing a stop-go penalty, the German does the right thing shortly before the Adelaide hairpin. A 3rd podium finish is in Montoya's future, but the crystal ball didn't figure engine failure into the equation. Irvine's Cosworth also lets him down on the verge of glory. He was running 7th and a points finish looked on the cards. But as Montoya also knows, Formula 1 V10s rarely battle on for adversity. Montoya's demise sets up a battle for 3rd between Coulthard and Barrichello. The Brazilian is on a 3-stop strategy, the result of which will be clear very shortly. Barrichello gets out ahead, but there's still time for Coulthard to challenge for 4 championship points. Coulthard will have his chance soon as the battle for 3rd encounters traffic. Jean Alesi's soon-to-be lapped Prost enables the Scot to have a go down the inside. He has the best line into the corner, but Barrichello has more momentum at the exit and stays in front. Victory and a career milestone await Michael Schumacher at the checkered flag. The German's 6th win of the season also marks his 50th Formula 1 victory. Ralph could have made his brother's life more difficult, but for a bad set of tyres on his 2nd stint. The remaining podium position goes to Barrichello, chased all the way by Coulthard.
It's the perfect result, as you said before. In Canada, we had 1-2 Ralph, myself, and now we have 1-2 myself and Ralph, and Rubens next to us. A bit unexpected, I guess, for Rubens, coming from where he came. We did a perfect race. So, obviously, for Ferrari, a very good day.
Michael Schumacher leads the Drivers' Championship by 31 points, and Ferrari have nearly double the Constructors' points of the McLarens. With all this hard work done only halfway through the season, Ralph recognises his brother needs time to cool off.
This morning in the warm-up we got to the point where we were quite pleased with the car. Nevertheless, the temperatures has changed a big way from this morning, so it's going to be very hot and tires going to be a big key issue in this Grand Prix, so we better keep it cool.
Best of luck. Thanks, Mika. You failed at the start there. What broke on the car? Was it the drive shaft?
Really don't know. You know, the team tried to start the car. They were trying to start it, but it just didn't. Engine didn't even spin, didn't even roll. Some reason. Something has broken inside somewhere. It didn't start.
It's not your year. Very bad luck, Mika.
Rural Northamptonshire cradles the historic Silverstone circuit, the home of the British Grand Prix. An aerial display by the world-famous Red Arrows is just one of the pre-race highlights. This is just a fraction of the pomp and circumstance that accompanies this race. Formula One grandee Michael Schumacher is on pole. He leads a Bridgestone benefit, followed by the McLarens of Mika Hakkinen and David Coulthard. Jaguar struggled during qualifying, while Jordan did well. Can both teams pull off an upset? Michael Schumacher holds his advantage over Hakkinen, while Coulthard and Trulli squabble for third. The McLaren sneaks ahead, but Trulli won't be dealt with easily. The Italian pays a big price for his fighting spirit. He's joined in the gravel trap by Panis, who collided with teammate Villeneuve. Schumacher and Hakkinen make a break for it up front, ahead of Montoya, who was 8th on the grid. Heidfeld takes 7th from Frentzen, without dire consequences, while the remarkably unscathed Coulthard starts his fight back from last place. Ron Dennis shows no trace of emotion, but that'll soon change. Coulthard's McLaren initially hid the damage it suffered from the collision with Trulli, but it rears its ugly head at Priory and puts the championship further out of reach. Hakkinen raises the Silver Arrow's morale by putting Schumacher under tremendous pressure. The Finn harnesses the overwhelming power of the Mercedes V10 to take the lead from the surprisingly obliging world champion. The Flying Finn is back. Further back, Montoya is running a strong third ahead of Barrichello, Ralf Schumacher and both Saubers. The cool temperatures of qualifying didn't suit Montoya's Michelins, but it's warmer now, and the Colombian is a legitimate threat to the front-runners. He pulls out of Schumacher's slipstream and effortlessly moves into second thanks to a lighter fuel load. Hakkinen is in for his first stop, shortly after his compatriot Raikkonen. The senior Flying Finn loses the lead, but Montoya has yet to stop. Ralf Schumacher is 5th, just clear of the battling Heidfeld and Frentzen. Their fight gains greater significance as engine failure sidelines Schumacher. The answer lies in the telemetry, but even the latest technology can't save Ralf now. Michael Schumacher is in for his sole stop, while Hakkinen exits the pit lane after his second. Will he win at Silverstone for the first time? The leader's two-stop strategy has definitely worked for him. The same can't be said for Montoya, who's stuck behind the now second-place Barrichello. Schumacher exits behind the battling South Americans, but Barrichello and Montoya have yet to stop. Despite having a heavier fuel load, Barrichello keeps Montoya behind him. Has Ross Brawn's conservative strategy guaranteed a podium finish for both Ferraris? We'll soon find out as the Brazilian rejoins the race after his sole stop. A poor second stop and bad set of tyres handicapped Montoya, and as a result, he stays in 4th. Hakkinen is on his last lap, but the race leader won't be taking anything for granted. The Spanish Grand Prix disaster will still be fresh in his mind. The Finn allows himself a celebratory wave and is now just meters away from the checkered flag. Hakkinen wins the British Grand Prix, but Michael Schumacher increases his championship lead in second, and teammate Barrichello finishes third. The Saubers of Raikkonen and Heidfeld finish behind Montoya, but in the points. A great day for the Swiss team. Mika Häkkinen takes his first win of the season at round 11. It's been a long time coming and is definitely one to savour for the team and his wife, Erja.
Mika, you've never won here at Silverstone before. Indeed, you haven't won in Formula One for nearly a year. How does it feel?
It feels really good, obviously, after all this trouble that's been going on this year. So it's good to win it, obviously, and particularly here in Silverstone, because trying for English team and English crowd, so we made a great show, you know.
The battle for the Drivers' Championship is temporarily forgotten as Formula One celebrates the return to form of one of its favourite sons.
Jarno, truly fourth in the grid, and the cars look very good on warm-up. You must be very confident for the race.
Yes, of course, especially after yesterday's qualifying and today's warm-up. Car is feeling very well, handling, balance, so I'm really confident that we can do a good race.
Do you think you'll actually be on the pace in the race with the McLarens and the Ferraris? Because normally you're a little bit off.
Yes, in the past we have had lots of problems to keep the tyres alive. With this new tyre specification, probably we can keep up with the best team, but it's not going to be easy.
Best of luck. Thanks, Jarno.
Craig Pollock, an unfortunately short race for Olivier Panis. What did you see of the incident?
Well, just the same as everybody else. We saw Alessi coming up the inside and Jacques obviously having to pull left, and it's just an unfortunate incident. We'll look at it when we get back. I'm pretty sure the two of them get on so well that he's not going to try and do that to him. So we just have to sit back and analyse it.
Tough luck. Thanks for talking to us.
Jarno, truly very short race. What happened on the way to the first corner there?
Well, I had a very good start and I was next to David by the first corner. Unfortunately, I don't know if he didn't see me or just closed the door, and so it was a shame because I couldn't find any more space to avoid the accident.
Just a racing incident?
Yes, probably, yeah, but you know, when you are outside, probably you have to think about how you move, because the guy inside cannot find any more space to avoid the accident in case you close the door.
Well, you know, 2 into 1 doesn't go, and although Jarno was on the inside line, he made a better start. I had track position because I was slightly ahead, so I felt that the corner, in terms of us doing it at the correct speed, was mine. And then when I turned in, he was still there. So, you know, I'm not going to do a Jarno bashing session because, you know, he obviously saw it from one point of view and I see it from another. But ultimately, if two cars come together, it does neither of us any good.
And what was the damage to your car? Why have you had to stop?
Rear suspension was broken and then it let go coming into Priory.
So that's absolutely a major blow to your championship aspirations?
Only if Michael finishes.
OK, David, tough luck. Ralph, what happened? Ralph has just run away. Ralph.
infuriating victory for McLaren there, but in some ways, perhaps the wrong McLaren won?
No, not at all. We're here first to win and second to win championships. We won the race. Championship is still open. It's harder, but it's not impossible. And we'll win more races this year.
The German Grand Prix at Hockenheim could be the race where Williams dominate. Mika Hakkinen had enough horsepower to be best of the rest after qualifying. Ralf Schumacher starts behind Juan Pablo Montoya, who scored his first Formula One pole position, while Alonso's challenge almost melted away on the grid. High expectations raise tensions in the Williams garage. Starting from the pit lane is a major achievement for Minardi. The pace setters make the most of the start, with Montoya leading Ralf Schumacher. Michael made a dreadful getaway. He's a potential and unavoidable hazard. Luciano Berti's Prost is a wreck, but at least it's still the right way up. Michael Schumacher's Ferrari also has terminal injuries. 2 damaged cars and plenty of wreckage leaves the ball firmly in the court of race director Charlie Whiting. The miraculously unscathed crash partners contemplate a very brief Grand Prix, but they'll get a second chance as the race has been stopped. The red flags put the spring back in Schumacher's step, and the spare Ferrari is almost ready. Those puncture-producing sections of carbon fibre have just about been cleared away, giving the world champion plenty of time to take 4th position on the grid. Prost have also done a great job to allow Berti to restart. Tension with more than a hint of concern is the prevailing atmosphere at the restart. The Williams reenact their first getaway, but this time Michael Schumacher leaves the grid at something like normal speed. Hakkinen digs in for a long afternoon. He'll struggle to stay with the leading pair. The front runners approach 220 miles per hour, and the slipstreaming begins. The Ferraris definitely have the legs of the McLarens, as demonstrated by Michael Schumacher. De La Rosa shows how not to approach a chicane at the expense of Heidfeld. King of the 2 stoppers, Rubens Barrichello is side by side with Coulthard. The McLaren driver has the inside line, but the light Ferrari easily drives round the Scot, who is relegated to 6th. Bernoldi and Fisichella battle for 13th. Bernoldi doesn't take any prisoners, but immediately pays for it. Despite the strong-arm tactics, the Italian battles on. Barrichello continues his 2-stop assisted charge. Hakkinen's 4th place is under threat. The Finn provides less resistance than his teammate, allowing Barrichello to focus his attack on Michael Schumacher. Bernoldi repeats his corner-cutting antics. That could incur the wrath of the stewards. Montoya and Ralf Schumacher still lead, while Michael lets his better-equipped teammate pursue the Williams BMWs. Last-minute sub Ricardo Zonta is overzealous in his pursuit of Verstappen and carries out some unnecessary surgery. That's all Eddie Jordan needs after the grief he got for Frenson's mysterious sacking. Montoya looks odds-on for his first Grand Prix win. He has a sizable lead over Ralf Schumacher, who's being hunted down by Barrichello, but the Brazilian has yet to make his first of 2 stops. Schumacher is losing touch in 4th, but is well ahead of title rival Coulthard. The fight for 9th is Honda-powered, with the BARs of Panis and Villeneuve sandwiching Trulli's Jordan. The Italian's car looks nervous under braking and loses the battle for traction at the Ost curve. Barrichello is in for his first of 2 stops. Can the Ferrari number 2 maintain his pace and get back into contention in front of 5th-placed Coulthard? The Scot moves ahead, but he'll have a hard time staying there. Especially if his Mercedes engine behaves like Häkkönen's. After his British Grand Prix success, normal service has been resumed. The Finn was running in 5th. Lack of horsepower affects Coulthard again. McLaren just can't live with Ferrari in this race, and Barrichello easily recaptures 4th. While the Brazilian carries on where he left off, his fellow South American is in big trouble. The fuel hose turns into a dripping tap and drops Montoya to 5th. Michael Schumacher's situation is even more desperate. A fuel pressure problem puts the record-equaling 51st victory out of the question. All this leaves the way clear for his brother to take his 3rd victory of the season, providing Williams have got their fuel rig sorted. A smooth pit stop puts him on course for the sweetest victory of all, one on home soil. Engine failure ensures Montoya won't be troubling his teammate. Coulthard picks up the pieces to run 3rd, while Ralf Schumacher looks secure in the lead. The German's Williams is surviving, despite Hockenheim's car-breaking reputation, unlike Coulthard's McLaren. A second Mercedes failure practically buries the Scots' championship hopes. Prospects for a 2nd place finish look good for Barrichello, who takes his final stop. Hydraulic problems put out Trulli. Eddie Jordan probably wanted to go home early anyway. Ralf Schumacher would be very happy if the checkered flag came out now, but the leader still has those tense last few laps to complete. The Arrows drivers may be oblivious to the number of laps left as they tussle amongst themselves. Bernoldi dives down the inside of Verstappen for 8th. The German crowd swells with national pride as Ralf Schumacher rounds the final corner and wins his home Grand Prix. Ralf finishes well ahead of Barrichello, Villeneuve and the 2 Benetton Renaults of Fisichella and Button. Montoya's retirement was a big help, but this was still a good performance by Ralf Schumacher. Villeneuve's 3rd place earns Craig Pollock plenty of Japanese brownie points, while Barrichello boosts Ferrari's monster Constructors' Championship total. The Canadian racks up an unexpected 2nd podium finish of the season.
I've always had a bit of bad luck here. I've never really finished in a good position, and I mean, to be here today in a German package to win the race in Germany is a great feeling.
And Delicio will be going to the back of one of the Ferraris.
The Hungarian Grand Prix saw Nigel Mansell clinch the 1992 Drivers' Championship. Will it witness the coronation of a four-time champion in 2001? The crucial qualifying session saw Barrichello line up third behind Coulthard, who must beat pole sitter Michael Schumacher to keep alive his slim championship chances. A good start is a must here, and for Coulthard and Schumacher it's absolutely critical. The world champion gets one, but Coulthard is immediately challenged by Barrichello and drops to third. Disaster for the Scot. Catastrophe for Eddie Irvine, whose race lasts a matter of seconds. At the front, Michael Schumacher leads from Barrichello and Coulthard, while Montoya takes 8th place from Raikkonen. It's all going to plan for Ferrari as Coulthard is stuck in third and Ralph is fourth. His teammate struggles to keep Raikkonen ninth. Button is finding it hard to make any headway. A stop-go penalty for jumping the start makes sure of that. At least he gets a second chance, unlike Bertie, who has spun into retirement. Montoya has a setup problem, and just keeping the car on track is proving difficult. But he still has the wherewithal to stay 8th ahead of Raikkonen. Enrique Benoldi's error is beyond correction, and he's out of the race. The pit board makes enjoyable reading for Michael Schumacher, who's in a commanding lead. Barrichello's doing an excellent job of thwarting Coulthard's progress. Much to the chagrin of Ron Dennis and Adrian Newey. Their former world champion lies 6th behind Trulli and is closely followed by Heidfeld, Montoya and Raikkonen. The Finn tries an optimistic move down the inside, but pays for his desperation and now must fight off Heidfeld. Coulthard has closed right up with Barrichello, but as in Monaco, overtaking is nigh on impossible at the Hungaroring. The race leader comes in for his first stop. Schumacher temporarily drops to third behind Barrichello and Coulthard. Their stops will be crucial in deciding the Scots' championship fate. Barrichello makes his initial stop for fuel and new tyres, handing 2nd place to the Scot. But for how long? Raikkonen's possession of 6th could also be temporary, with more unforced errors like that. The pressure is now firmly on Coulthard and the McLaren mechanics. It looked to be a good stop, and it gets the job done. Finally, something for Ron Dennis to cheer about. At the front, Michael Schumacher comes up to lap Panis, while avoiding Jenson Button's stricken Benetton Renault. The young Brit's wretched season shows no sign of improving. Alonso spins out of 17th position, a rare mistake by the Rookie of the Year candidate. Another debutant is also having an off day. Montoya's incorrect setup is exposed as Schumacher effortlessly puts a lap on him. The Colombian is running in a far from trouble-free 7th. Further ahead, 5th-placed Hakkinen can afford to acknowledge his thousands of Hungarian fans. Michael Schumacher leaves the pits following his 2nd stop. His mechanics have done their bit, and the German shows no sign of letting the side down, as the championship is tantalisingly close. The Ferrari mechanics face a critical test, as 3rd-place Barrichello comes in for his final stop. Coulthard needs to put in some red-hot laps to guarantee 2nd place. The Scots' job hasn't been made any easier thanks to Barrichello's ultra-fast pit crew. Montoya struggles to stay ahead of Panis, but once again an ill-handling Williams diverts him onto the scenic route. Fortunately, Coulthard has been free of such distractions on the run-up to his most critical pit stop of the season. It's a good one. However, Barrichello is dangerously close. There's fractions of a second in it, but that's enough for Barrichello to retake second. Coulthard's relegation takes the pressure off Michael Schumacher, and the race leader can practically cruise to the line. Hydraulics failure ensures Trulli won't get that far. Panis BAR succumbs to electrical failure, while Häkkönen's race has livened up. The Finn puts Ralf Schumacher's defensive skills to the test as they battle for fourth position. Michael Schumacher is well in control on this tight, twisty track, and De La Rosa's lap Jaguar is yet another obstacle between Coulthard and staying in championship contention. Getting to grips with the new car has proved almost as big a hurdle for Prost debutant Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Michael Schumacher is just a few corners away from perhaps the most important victory of his career. The travelling Tifosi rejoice as Michael Schumacher wins the Hungarian Grand Prix and equals Alain Prost's all-time record, and, most importantly, earns his fourth world title. Jean Todt and Ross Brawn start the party on the pit wall, while Schumacher receives early congratulations from Barrichello. The Parc Fermé is overflowing with emotion as Schumacher receives the accolades he deserves.
In such a moment, I'm probably not a bad racing driver, but I'm quite a bad person in finding the right words in such moments. So you have to forgive me. I can't say much more than it has been a beautiful weekend. I mean, we did everything we could have done. We have such a great crew. I mean, such a good team. I'm really in love with all of them, and it makes so much fun to work with them. It's their achievement, and I'm more than thankful to all of them.
The traditional Schumacher leap is fueled by the fact that Ferrari has retained their constructors' title, scoring nearly double the points of McLaren. Maranello's finest have crushed the opposition. Both championships have been wrapped up with 4 rounds to go.
weren't sure whether it was an exhaust problem or an engine problem, but apparently they're changing some of the electronics in the engine. We prefer to find out what the problem is here than find out during the next test. So get him out, find it, it'll save us some time.
I'm tired. Sorry, just still gonna move on a bit.